We would like to thank our candidates, or candidate at the moment, running for Rhode Island General Treasurer. Our other candidate's not here at the moment, but I'm sure he'll be here shortly. Following a predetermined speaking order, each candidate at the time, if he ends up showing up, will have up to a minute to offer introductory remarks to the audience. After remarks, students may come up and ask questions, and our first candidate, Lathrop, sponsoring student, may come up and offer introductory remarks.
I'm Courtney Jenks. It's my honor to introduce James Lathrop, who is running for state treasurer. Mr. Lathrop. He enlisted in the U.S. Army right after high school and served while attending Bryant University, graduating with a Bachelor of Science degree in Accounting and Finance Director for the town of Rhode, Kingston, which he has named the Providence Business News CFO of the Year in 2019. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce our next state treasurer, Mr. James Lathrop.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that great introduction. In addition to Brian, I also have a master's degree from New York University, a master's in public administration. I've been a finance director for many communities here in Rhode Island. I'm a CPA, and had a practice in Connecticut, had an opportunity to sell it, own several businesses. So first of all, I'd like to tell you, most of you probably don't know what the treasurer does. It's a very limited role. It's a technical job that's elected, but it's not political. What it does is it manages the investments of the pensions of all state employees, the teachers, the DPW, the police, and the fire. We also manage the cash for the state. It's about $80 billion that runs through the state, about $12 billion in the pension. We also have several smaller programs. Rhode Island Able, which is one that I hope I get a good question on. There's also the Victims Restitution Fund, which again, I hope I get a good question on. The 529 education plan, and the unclaimed property. So, I appreciate it here, and this is political, so it gets a little nasty. I don't like that, but my candidate, as you hopefully learn about him, one of his big things when he was mayor of Central Falls, he spent over $100,000 of taxpayer dollars traveling with him and his girlfriend. That's in addition to what third parties pay. So I'm guessing he's probably traveling today.
Thank you for your remarks. At this time, a microphone is available in the front of the stage to any student who wishes to ask a question.
Good morning. As General Treasurer, would you support the funding of a universal health care system that would also support a person's right to choose what to do with their body?
First of all, the Treasurer's Office is very specific. We have no power to make legislation or policy. That's the political answer. The real reason is, part of the reason that I'm a Republican is I believe the government should have no ability to change our social and moral decisions. It's you personally. So as far as funding a program, that would come through the state legislature. I would manage the cash for it, but at the end of the day, me personally, I get a lot of grief from the Republicans. They call me a rhino, they call me purple. It's because I'm extremely conservative when it comes to financial matters, but I'm also very liberal when it comes to social matters.
As treasurer, what are you planning on using the state's money on for mainly, or like?
So, one of the things, I heard questions in the last about mental health. I'm a big believer that we need to address mental health. I've sat on a mental health board, SK Wellness, which dealt basically with students in South Kingstown and mental health issues. Mental health treatment for many financial matters. I think the treasurer's office needs to be more proactive. They are active with students in financial literacy, but what about adults and older people that have a lot of those things? You know, I've had 3 of my friends commit suicide. One was just 3 years ago. It's personal. We need to do more, and that's why the Rhode Island Able program is a great program, and I think the treasurer's office can do more things.
How are you planning to help with paying public school teachers better?
I can't help with the pain of I can't help with the pain of the teachers, but I can help drive their pension. Right now, teachers' pensions are about 50% funded, and it scares them. Well, why do I want to do this job when I know when I retire, the pension won't be there? Right now, they haven't got a cost for retired teachers, a cost of living increase since 2011. Think if you had the same pay for over a decade, how can you afford things? So that's how the treasurer's office can address the things with teachers. They can do things like making the pension more portable. That's been a question that I've asked. I'm one of the only Republicans to get a union endorsement. Council 94, which oversees many teachers' contracts, chose me. They've never picked a Republican because I'm good at what I do. I don't want to sound cocky, but I'm very good at what I do. You know, Providence Business is CFO of the Year, RIPAC winner, GFOA, which is Government Finance Officers Associations. I also know what I want. One of the reasons that I'm running for treasurer is that it's become too political. Gina Raimondo ran for it, governor, now in Commerce. Seth Magaziner ran for it, now running for Congress. I want to be treasurer. I'm an accountant, for God's sakes. I don't want to be a politician. My wife would kill me. She's still mad that I ran for this. So I'm at an age that if I get elected and I get reelected for 8 years, this is all that I want to do. And that's the type of person that you want. You want someone who's dedicated to the work of managing the funds, how they help people, and understand that what we do have an impact on everybody's lives.
Excuse me. You kind of did answer like how you want to change the office. What are your main goals as treasurer to change?
So I have some are financial, to increase the investments. I wrote a transparency pledge, which was picked up by Forbes magazine. The writer, Mrs. Siddell, actually endorsed me recently. It's the only pledge in America that would provide full transparency to pension investments as well as the fees. The other things is I've gone to the treasurer's office. There's 90 people who work there. They all look like me. How can we get out in the community and relate to different people? We need to change that. So that's one of also my goals.
Recently, Rhode Island made personal finance education a graduation requirement for the class of 2024 and beyond. What role do you think the treasurer's office plays in supporting that?
Well, one is providing resources to the people to come out, because there's a lot of really smart people there. Sometimes it's just showing up and answering questions like this and find out what you need and how can we help you. One of the things that I don't know if you've heard about, so I had an intern from here this summer, really smart young lady. But we talked about how we manage funds and how we do investments. So I've talked to the town council about providing you guys $50,000 to invest. And you would get to keep the profits for scholarships. Now, I know from the school side, it's still being worked on in the curriculum, and playing a game with stocks and money, you try to win and you take risks. When it's real money, your attitudes will change. That's what I believe in is, mistakes are great. That's how I learn. I don't know about you, but I screwed up a lot of stuff. And that's why I'm good, because I've made those mistakes. I have the experience. I've gone through that process. So I think that's, those type of options that the treasurer can do and be more proactive.
As general treasurer, what do you plan on doing in regards to infrastructure throughout the state?
So the treasurer's office works with the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. Again, the treasurer's office issues the debt to give it to the people, give it to the organizations that need it, the towns, the DOT. That's one of the things that the treasurer's office will do. I've issued hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of debt in my career. I was the only second AAA rated community when I worked for Portsmouth in the state of Rhode Island. My opponent always talks about, he's made Central Falls investment grade. That means he was getting an F and now he's getting a D. I get A's.
Hello. I was wondering how your office can support funding green energy plans.
So again, we can do that by raising money in order to give it to the organizations that actually do it. It's your money and your decision. Really, the treasurer's office is a fiduciary job. It's to make sure that things aren't missed, that we maximize gains, and we pay the bills on time, and we have enough cash. One of the things that many of you don't know, in 2020, the state almost ran out of money. Not that they were bankrupt, but it was a cash flow issue. So understanding that process, the treasurer currently has no ability to borrow on a short-term basis. I'm the finance director for North Kingstown. I can issue debt for 60 or 120 days if I have the cash flow. So I think those are things that I can bring to it so that we can truly manage all the funds.
At this time, Mr. Dioza has arrived. I'd like his student to make his introductory remark.
I am Daniel Swanson, and it's my honor to introduce James A. Dioza, who is running for state treasurer in Rhode Island. Mr. Dioza pledges to leverage funding for climate change to keep our oceans that we depend on safe, and wants to increase school budgets to allow modifications so that schools can be safe and comfortable. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next Rhode Island treasurer, Mr. Dioza.
Thank you. Good morning. That was a really good introduction. I appreciate that. Good morning to all of you. It's great to see a pretty packed auditorium to listen to two incredible candidates discuss about why they should be the next general treasurer. And so I want to thank my opponent here for participating. And I also want to say I apologize for being a little late. We were at a ribbon cutting in Cumberland, and so it took quite some time to get down here. So my name is James Dioza. I am 37 years old. I have a beautiful wife and a 3-year-old daughter. I was born and raised in Central Falls, and at the age of 23, I ran for city council because I was inspired by then Barack Obama, who was running for president, who I felt was the reason I got involved into local politics, because I felt like he was speaking to me saying, look, you got to go back into your own town, your own city, and help out make things better. And so I ran for city council, and then I ran for mayor, and there's a red sign up, so I will stop there, right?
Thank you. At this time, we will continue our questions. Each candidate gets a minute to answer each question, and we'll start with Mr. Dioza.
So, what are your views on abortion?
A very good, very important question. As you know, we were all surprised by the decision of the Supreme Court to overturn the woman's right to choose. And having a beautiful wife who is a state senator, who was a supporter in a vote in support of codifying Roe v. Wade in Rhode Island, I support the woman's right to choose. And I have no, as a government official or as a man, I have no right to tell anyone what to do.
Thank you.
I answered that question earlier. As a Republican, I believe government doesn't have a right to manage our morality, manage our social decisions. I believe in smaller government. I believe in fiscal management. So I'm going to go off topic because I just can't stop myself. There's a gentleman in the front row with a rifle shirt on. What weapon? Oh, my daughter was saber, but don't see many fences around.
In recent months, there were increases in the salaries of various public officials, which have been said to be a political move by the governor. What would you do about that?
Well, the treasurer has no ability to do that other than to speak. You know, again, it's a fiduciary job. It's a responsibility to manage the cash. It's to talk to the governor about what we have for cash. I understand the perspective that it could be political, but I also know, being that I negotiate contracts with unions, sometimes you're making decisions to get a lower increase and you're getting some upfront funding. I know here in North Kingstown, they're doing something like that with the teachers.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
In recent months, there were various salary raises for public officials, which were said to be political moves by the governor.
Yeah, no, this is a very good question. Look, you know, being a mayor for 8 years, I understood how important it was to have a great team around you, to not only advise you, but to help carry the vision forward for your 8 years in government. And so, being a former mayor, the governor as well, Dan McKee, I know that he's been having a difficult time finding staff to stay or to hire. And so, although it has nothing to do with the treasurer's office, I think that this definitely has to have a closer look to see how we can hire the best of the best to lead our different departments in the state, so that we're delivering quality services for the people around.
What advice would you give to high schoolers looking to invest in the stock market?
Say that one more time.
What advice would you give to high schoolers looking to start investing in the stock market?
Oh, I think it's a great time. I think more importantly, you know, the treasurer's office has been very instrumental about educating high schoolers on financial literacy. And so being able to carry on what the treasurer's office has done and come into schools and talk about investment, saving, you know, credit. You know, some of us, like many of you, took out student loans, and so that's another issue that is really impacting our younger generations. And so, absolutely, I think that it's important. And elected treasurer, I'm going to be very active in educating our students about financial literacy and investing in the stock market. And I would love for many of you to come visit the treasurer's office if I'm elected.
So for someone who has publicly said he has no investments, you shouldn't be talking about investments. So the AARP has a program that they've asked the treasurer to support. It's called Work and Save, which is like a 401k for small businesses. One of the things is, as you get out of the market or get out of the world and have jobs, you need to look about how your retirement goes. I mean, it's a very scary thing. You know, the market itself, don't look for the quick wins. Look for the long term. You know, the best stock picker that I know is my mother, because she only buys the company that has good products that she likes to use. So sometimes, you know, some of that knowledge that you, as youth, know brands that are going to be more popular. Oh my God, this is a great sneaker, and all my friends are wearing it, and they're publicly traded. You know, those are things that you can do. You some of the brokerages, house nows have very low fees. You can buy small amounts, you can do it online. But to become a trader and to try to make a quick buck, don't do that. Buy what you know, talk to people, keep, there's a joke that I was told about that I like this stuff. I'm a geek. I know it. That at my house, on the back of the toilet, are financial statements of companies that I own, which my wife hates. So every time friends come over or something, you need to get rid of this, Jim. I don't want us to think about, those things. So, anyway.
At this time, we only have time for one more question.
How does the Treasurer Office respond to natural disasters such as hurricanes, flash floodings, and others?
So part of it is that we have the cash available so that if EMA or a different agency in the state needs funding, that we have the cash available to provide the payments. So that's really how we get involved with it. We're a fiduciary responsibility that manages cash and investments. We don't have a lot of policy. We do have a couple programs, but to that extent, that's what we would do with that case.
Thank you, great question. Climate change is real, and us being very young, we have to prepare for that. And the best way the Treasurer's Office can confront that is, there are different ways the pension fund is funded and managed. And so, I know that the current treasurer has looked at ways of moving away from fossil fuels in a very responsible way. But also, there is a program called the Infrastructure Bank, where this program funds a lot of green projects around the state that allow us to try to beat some of the carbon emissions and try to be as green as possible. And so this is a program where I want to bring to every city and town so that we're very intentional and strong about investing in our green economy. Thank you.
Unfortunately, our scheduled time will soon elapse. Starting with Mr. Lathrop, candidates will be allowed 1 minute for closing remarks.
So thank you for having me. I'm a technical guy for a technical job. That's what you want. I also believe that it does impact you. You say, how does this have any impact to you? So I work here for North Kingston. I'm the finance director. So we'll give you an example of the fire department. For every dollar that you pay them, I have to put 30 cents into their pension fund. If we can do a better job of managing the state pension, we can lower that cost to you as taxpayers or to your parents or soon-to-be taxpayers. So that's what I'm about. I'm also, the last comments, I just want to bring on, while the treasurer may be moving away from fossil fuels, again, we have a fiduciary responsibility in the treasurer's office. There's a thing called social investment, that you invest in companies that have a social cause, that they may be more environmentally friendly or different things. That is not something I believe in, that the treasurer's office needs to maximize returns so that we can provide resources.
Thank you again for the opportunity to come speak to you, and I really want to give all of you a great round of applause for putting this together, for being so active and engaged. Kudos to all you. My name is, again, like I said, James Diosa, running for treasurer. I was the mayor for 8 years. Previous to that, served on the city council. I know what it is to make tough decisions and do what's right for the people of then the city of Central Falls, and I'd like to take my leadership skill not only to encourage and engage the next generation, but also work hard for people in Rhode Island today and be able to provide the best quality of life. The priorities are pretty simple, and there are 3 of them. One is manage the pension to ensure that we are financially responsible to the retirees, the actives, and the taxpayers. I want to continue building brand new schools or renovating schools across our state. And third is, how do we empower our next generation with financial literacy? And that's going to be top of mind all the time, because if we have a strong, educated population with financial skills and tools, we're going to have a strong state tomorrow. Thank you very much for the opportunity.